In the grim darkness of the far future, the galaxy is a sprawling canvas of untold worlds. Planets are not just isolated spheres of rock and life, but vital nodes in the vast web of galactic empires. Some are thriving hubs of commerce, others forge worlds bristling with industry, and yet more are serene sanctuaries of rare beauty. Each one carries its own story, its unique role in the grand theater of the cosmos. Yet, in this harsh reality, even these worlds, teeming with history, culture, and life, are expendable. The Imperium of Man, vast and unyielding, oversees an empire of 1,000,000 worlds. It does so with an iron grip, guided by the God Emperor's divine mandate. Here, survival is the highest calling, and sacrifices are a necessary cost. Among the countless tools wielded to preserve the Imperium's fragile existence, none is more absolute, more terrifying than Exterminatus. Exterminatus is no mere act of war. It is annihilation elevated to a chilling art form, a decision that leaves no room for doubt, dissent, or reversal. To enact Exterminatus is to decree that a world, along with its inhabitants, history, and future, is no longer permissible in the grand scheme. The reasons vary, and the methods are as diverse as the threats they are designed to obliterate, but the result is always the same: utter eradication. To understand the implications of Exterminatus, one must first grasp the magnitude of its purpose. This is not a weapon of conquest or punishment. It is an act of survival and expediency. Whether to halt the spread of heresy, to quarantine an uncontrollable contagion, or to deny a resource to an advancing enemy, Exterminatus is the ultimate resolution in a galaxy where no other option remains. It is not a decision made lightly. The act is sanctioned only by the highest authorities, lords of the Inquisition, fleet admirals, and other figures of immense power. Yet, with such power comes the weight of responsibility, for with a single command, these individuals reshape the very fabric of the galaxy. Every Exterminatus ripples outward, altering star charts, obliterating economies, and staining the Imperium's conscience in ways that even its most stoic defenders struggle to bear. Yet Exterminatus is not an event confined to the Imperium of Man. Other factions, driven by their own motivations and guided by their own codes, wield similar methods to bring total destruction upon a world. For some, it is a demonstration of supremacy. For others, it is an act of vengeance or a grim necessity to preserve the delicate balance of their plans. The galaxy remembers its martyrs, its heroes, and its villains. But what of the planets themselves, the silent witnesses to this cosmic conflict? Worlds consumed by Exterminatus are erased not only from maps, but from memory, their stories reduced to whispers in the void. What remains then are the questions. How does such devastation unfold? What unimaginable forces are unleashed to shatter a planet to its very core? And what does it mean for those who witness it, and those who command it? In this journey, we will unravel the full scope of Exterminatus, exploring its players, origins, mechanics, and consequences. But first, let us stand at the precipice of annihilation, where every choice carries the weight of an entire world's existence. For when Exterminatus is declared, there is no turning back. The cataclysmic process of Exterminatus does not occur in isolation. It is the culmination of decisions and actions carried out by a web of distinct individuals and factions. Each plays a vital role, contributing to the event with their unique expertise, authority, or capabilities. Together, they form the machinery that executes this grim decree, ensuring that no detail is overlooked and that the annihilation is absolute. At the pinnacle of this chain of command are the high-ranking authorities who have the power to sanction such an operation. These figures are often drawn from the Inquisition, whose members wield unparalleled authority across the Imperium. They act as the ultimate arbiters, deciding whether a planet's continued existence is a risk too great to bear. Their mandate, rooted in the preservation of humanity, drives their willingness to make such fateful decisions. With a single command, they set the stage for total planetary obliteration. Working closely with the Inquisition, or sometimes independently, are the fleet commanders of the Imperial Navy. These individuals are entrusted with the execution of Exterminatus orders, overseeing the deployment of planet-destroying weaponry. Their fleets, equipped with the firepower to scour entire continents from orbit, are the instruments of destruction. These commanders bear the heavy responsibility of translating a directive into reality, navigating logistical challenges and moral dilemmas as they carry out their duty. The Adeptus Mechanicus, the keepers of humanity's technological secrets, also play a pivotal role in the process. They are the architects and custodians of the sophisticated weapons used to enact Exterminatus. From virus bombs capable of eradicating all organic life to cyclonic torpedoes designed to destabilize planetary crusts, the Mechanicus provides the tools required for such apocalyptic measures. Their expertise ensures that the destructive force is both precise and overwhelming. The Imperial Guard, though not always directly involved in Exterminatus operations, often find themselves entwined in the events leading up to these dire decisions. Whether attempting to hold a planet against insurmountable odds or conducting ground-level purges to stave off a larger calamity, they are frequently the first to encounter the conditions that warrant such extreme measures. Their reports, observations, and sacrifices contribute to the ultimate judgment, even if they do not wield the weapons of planetary destruction themselves. Among those involved are the ecclesiarchy, the spiritual leaders of the Imperium, who lend their voices to justify or contest the decision to unleash such a fate upon a world. Their proclamations frame the act as a necessary sacrifice, a sacred duty to protect the faithful and ensure the survival of humanity's greater cause. They provide the moral framework that seeks to temper the horror of Exterminatus with a sense of divine purpose. On occasion, external factions or rogue elements may intersect with Exterminatus operations. Rogue traders, independent agents operating on the fringes of Imperial control, can act as informants or even provocateurs, supplying critical intelligence or amplifying threats that demand immediate action. Though not directly responsible for the destruction, their involvement often shapes the context in which such measures are deemed necessary. In the wider galaxy, alien species also possess their own mechanisms for planetary annihilation, though their involvement differs significantly. While they may not participate in the Imperium's Exterminatus operations, their actions or threats frequently serve as catalysts for these decisions. Whether through hostile invasions, uncontainable outbreaks, or the corruption of entire worlds, Xenos forces push humanity toward this ultimate recourse. Finally, there are the unseen operatives, the spies, advisors, and analysts who gather intelligence, assess threats, and recommend courses of action. These individuals, working behind the scenes, provide the groundwork upon which decisions of such magnitude are made. Though their contributions are often overlooked, their influence is critical in ensuring that Exterminatus is deployed with purpose rather than recklessness. The execution of Exterminatus requires a complex interplay of roles, each contributing a piece of the puzzle that culminates in planetary annihilation. These participants, from the commanding voices of the Inquisition to the silent calculations of the Mechanicus, form the backbone of one of the most devastating forces in the galaxy. Their actions, choices, and expertise converge to bring about an event that leaves no trace of a world's existence, ensuring that the galaxy's fragile equilibrium is preserved no matter the cost. The road to Exterminatus is paved with events and circumstances that leave no room for lesser solutions. A planet marked for such a fate does not reach this point by chance. It is the result of a cascade of failures, threats, and dangers that defy all conventional containment. These preceding factors, each catastrophic in its own right, converge to create a scenario so dire that annihilation becomes the only conceivable response. The most common precursor to Exterminatus is the rise of existential threats that cannot be contained through ordinary means. These may include the rapid spread of heretical cults, which infiltrate and destabilize planetary populations, converting millions to ideologies that threaten the Imperium's survival. Often these cults work in the shadows, using deception and manipulation to undermine the planet's leadership and military strength until their influence becomes impossible to eradicate without total destruction. Other planets face the grim reality of being overrun by alien invasions. Some xeno-species, whether driven by hunger, conquest, or simple malice, target imperial worlds with overwhelming force. When these incursions succeed in establishing a foothold, the threat of permanent infestation looms large. On such worlds, the spread of alien biology or technology may render the planet irretrievable, its very existence a threat to neighboring systems. Faced with the prospect of contamination spreading beyond the planet, the Imperium often finds itself with no alternative but to initiate Exterminatus. Another precursor arises from within the Imperium itself, unchecked corruption and decay. Planets that fall victim to the systemic rot of mismanagement, greed, or incompetence can spiral into chaos, their populations left to fend for themselves amid collapsing infrastructure. In the worst cases, this descent into anarchy creates a breeding ground for rebellion, where entire worlds rise up against imperial rule. Such uprisings, if left unchecked, can inspire nearby systems to follow suit, threatening the stability of entire sectors. Beyond societal collapse and alien invasions lies the sinister influence of the warp. Planets touched by this chaotic realm often become irreparably tainted, their environments twisted and corrupted by unnatural energies. Demonic incursions, once unleashed, are notoriously difficult to contain. Even if the creatures of the warp are driven back, the lingering corruption renders the planet uninhabitable, leaving the Imperium no choice but to destroy it entirely to prevent further spread. Catastrophic failures in quarantine or containment protocols can also lead to Exterminatus. On certain worlds, experimental technologies or biological weapons are developed under strict supervision. However, these safeguards are not infallible. When accidents occur, or when such weapons fall into the wrong hands, the results can be apocalyptic. Entire ecosystems can be transformed into unrecognizable landscapes of death, where no life, human or otherwise, can survive without immediate intervention. Sometimes the need for Exterminatus stems from its strategic importance rather than the immediate condition of the planet. Certain worlds are deemed too valuable to fall into enemy hands, their resources or locations vital to the Imperium's broader war efforts. When the tide of war turns against the Imperium, the destruction of such a planet may become a grim necessity, denying the enemy access to its assets. While the planet itself may not be inherently compromised, its loss to an adversary outweighs any potential benefit of its continued existence. The bureaucracy of the Imperium itself is not immune to contributing to the conditions that lead to Exterminatus. Miscommunication, delayed responses, and the sheer inefficiency of its vast administrative machine often exacerbate crises that might otherwise have been mitigated. By the time a planetary governor or military commander's pleas for assistance are heard, the situation may have already spiraled out of control, leaving no viable options other than total annihilation. Finally, there is the matter of fear of the unknown and the consequences of inaction. The Imperium's leadership, ever mindful of the countless threats that have emerged throughout its history, often errs on the side of caution. When faced with uncertainty about a planet's status or the potential scope of a threat, they may preemptively order Exterminatus rather than risk allowing the danger to grow. This calculated paranoia ensures that no potential threat is left to chance, even if it means the destruction of millions of lives. In every case, Exterminatus is not a decision made lightly. It is the culmination of numerous failures, some preventable, others unavoidable, that lead to the ultimate conclusion that a planet's destruction is the only remaining path forward. These precursors, whether born of external threats, internal decay, or the cold calculations of strategic necessity, set the stage for the irreversible act of planetary annihilation. The initiation of Exterminatus follows a grimly methodical progression, a chain of events designed to ensure total annihilation while minimizing risk to surrounding systems. The process unfolds with precision, guided by a blend of bureaucratic mandates, technological deployment, and the unwavering resolve of those who carry out the order. Each stage represents a step closer to the ultimate eradication of the targeted planet. The first step is always the declaration of Exterminatus, a formal act requiring authorization from the highest authorities. This is not a spontaneous decision, but the result of exhaustive deliberation. Inquisitors, fleet commanders, or other sanctioned leaders weigh the evidence and assess the risks. Once the order is given, it becomes irrevocable, a commitment to an act of complete and deliberate destruction. After the declaration, the operational command is transferred to the appropriate forces, typically the Imperial Navy. Detailed plans are drawn up to account for the planet's size, atmospheric conditions, and potential hazards. This stage involves a meticulous assessment of the weapons to be deployed. Whether it is a barrage of cyclonic torpedoes, virus bombs, or other apocalyptic devices, the arsenal is chosen to match the specific conditions of the target. At this point, secrecy and security become paramount. Unauthorized knowledge of the operation could lead to panic, interference, or sabotage. Simultaneously, evacuation protocols may be initiated for any remaining loyal Imperial personnel or assets on the planet. These operations are conducted under extreme duress, often requiring the coordination of ground forces, airlift capabilities, and naval support. Civilians, unless deemed of extraordinary value, are rarely included in these efforts. The priority is always to extract individuals who possess knowledge, technology, or resources critical to the Imperium's broader goals. However, such evacuations are the exception rather than the rule, as Exterminatus is frequently enacted on worlds already lost to corruption or invasion. The deployment phase begins with the mobilization of the fleet. Starships carrying planet-destroying payloads enter strategic positions in high orbit, ensuring optimal angles of attack. At this stage, any remaining forces on the surface are given their final orders, whether to hold key locations, destroy sensitive equipment, or sacrifice themselves in delaying actions to protect evacuees. Communication is tightly controlled, with commanders relaying instructions through secured channels to minimize confusion and maximize efficiency. Once the fleet is in position, the countdown to destruction begins. This stage is marked by an eerie calm as the fleet prepares to unleash its deadly payload. Final checks are conducted to ensure the weapon systems are operational, targeting is precise, and all possible contingencies are accounted for. Depending on the weapon chosen, this may involve complex calculations to ensure that the planet's annihilation does not create hazards for nearby systems or disrupt vital warp lanes. The execution phase is where theory becomes reality. The fleet launches its payload, delivering planet-killing weapons with devastating precision. Cyclonic torpedoes, for example, are designed to penetrate deep into the planet's crust before detonating, triggering catastrophic tectonic reactions that can shatter the world from within. Virus bombs, on the other hand, release deadly pathogens that consume all organic matter, reducing it to a corrosive sludge. In some cases, multiple weapons are used in combination, ensuring that no aspect of the planet's ecosystem or infrastructure remains intact. The moments following detonation are chaotic and horrifying. The planet's atmosphere may ignite, creating massive firestorms that sweep across its surface. Oceans vaporize, mountain ranges collapse, and entire continents are reduced to molten slag. If tectonic destabilization is the chosen method, the planet may fracture entirely, breaking into countless pieces that scatter into orbit as a field of lifeless debris. Observing these events, even from the safety of a starship, is a sobering experience that leaves a lasting impression on those who witness it. In the aftermath, the fleet remains on station to monitor the destruction. This phase is critical, as it ensures that no remnants of the planet or its population survive to threaten the Imperium. Sensor arrays and reconnaissance teams scour the wreckage, searching for any signs of life or lingering dangers. If necessary, additional strikes may be carried out to obliterate any surviving structures or entities. Only when the planet is reduced to an uninhabitable wasteland, devoid of any potential for recovery, is the operation considered complete. Finally, a formal report is compiled and transmitted to the relevant authorities, documenting the execution of Exterminatus in precise detail. This record serves multiple purposes. It provides accountability for the act, ensures that future historians and strategists understand the circumstances that led to the decision, and reinforces the Imperium's resolve in the face of existential threats. For those involved, the process ends here, but the impact of their actions will resonate across the galaxy, a grim reminder of the lengths to which the Imperium will go to ensure its survival. The pivotal moment in any Exterminatus operation is the final decision to proceed, a singular point where the course of a planet's fate is irreversibly altered. This act, though often portrayed as inevitable, represents the culmination of layered deliberation, evidence, and ultimately, a choice made by those in command. At its core, this decision is not merely an operational step. It is a declaration of absolute intent, a commitment to the complete obliteration of a world and all it represents. The key turning point occurs when the gathered information and circumstances align to form a grim picture. The planet cannot be saved, contained, or allowed to exist further. While Exterminatus may seem like a foregone conclusion in some cases, the final order is always preceded by intense scrutiny. It is at this critical juncture that commanders, advisors, and authorized officials convene to assess the full scope of the threat. The arguments made during this time are often heated, weighed against the enormous cost of annihilating an entire planet. Central to this decision is the question of whether there are truly no other options remaining. This moment is less about operational tactics and more about weighing the philosophical and strategic implications of erasure. The arguments often hinge on whether the planet's continued existence poses a greater danger than its destruction. Every voice in the discussion brings its own perspective, from military practicality to moral justification. But it is the individual in ultimate authority who must render the final judgment. When the final decision is reached, it is marked by a singular act, the formal issuance of the Exterminatus order. This decree is an unambiguous command, recorded and transmitted to the relevant fleet or forces for immediate execution. In this moment, there is no room for hesitation or second-guessing. The planet is declared beyond redemption, its destruction deemed an act of necessity to safeguard the wider Imperium. This declaration often carries a solemn weight, acknowledged even by those who have grown accustomed to the harsh realities of galactic warfare. The moment of decision also carries significant symbolic and psychological weight. For the individuals responsible, this act is a reminder of the heavy burden of leadership. Many who give such orders are haunted by the implications, though they outwardly project an air of unwavering resolve. Even those who believe fully in the necessity of the act cannot escape the enormity of the choice they have made. For the crews who receive the command, the order signals a shift from preparation to execution, crystallizing their role in the unfolding event. From a procedural perspective, the decision to enact Exterminatus represents a shift in operational priorities. Up to this point, efforts may have been focused on containment, evacuation, or even direct engagement with the threat. Once the decision is made, all such efforts are halted or redirected to facilitate the planet's destruction. Resources are reallocated, objectives redefined, and personnel reassigned to ensure the operation proceeds without delay or interference. This critical juncture also has far-reaching implications beyond the immediate context of the operation. For those observing the decision from afar, it serves as a stark reminder of the Imperium's unyielding resolve. The destruction of a planet sends a message to allies and enemies alike. No cost is too great when the survival of humanity is at stake. This moment reverberates across sectors, altering the perception of Imperial strength and its willingness to take extreme measures. While the practicalities of the decision are rooted in cold logic, its ramifications ripple through every level of the Imperium. From the civilians who may never learn the true reasons behind the act to the bureaucrats who log it in records that will endure for millennia, the decision to enact Exterminatus is a turning point that defines the trajectory of all involved. This key moment stands as the fulcrum upon which the operation pivots. It is here that uncertainty gives way to certainty, preparation transitions into action, and the weight of a planet's existence is measured against the imperatives of survival. From this moment onward, there is no retreat, no reconsideration, only the inexorable march toward annihilation. The immediate aftermath of Exterminatus sends shockwaves across the galaxy, altering the landscape of sectors and systems both physically and politically. The destruction of a planet ripples far beyond its own obliteration, influencing neighboring worlds, galactic infrastructure, and the delicate balance of power. These effects, while often calculated by the Imperium as necessary, leave scars that shape the course of history for those who survive to witness them. One of the most visible impacts is the sudden void left in the galactic map. A planet, once a living world teeming with life, industry, and culture, becomes a barren wasteland or a field of debris. Trade routes that once relied on its resources are disrupted, creating economic instability that spreads to nearby systems. Worlds that depended on the annihilated planet for food, minerals, or manufacturing find themselves struggling to compensate for the sudden loss. This disruption cascades through Imperial supply chains, hampering military operations, industrial output, and even the daily lives of billions. For the populations of nearby systems, the obliteration of a neighboring planet is a sobering reminder of the Imperium's unyielding authority. Fear and uncertainty take root as people grapple with the knowledge that their own world could face a similar fate if deemed necessary. This psychological impact reinforces compliance with imperial edicts, as planetary governors and citizens alike are reminded of the dire consequences of defiance, corruption, or failure. Strategically, Exterminatus often achieves its immediate goal of neutralizing a threat. Alien infestations, heretical uprisings, or demonic incursions are eradicated in one decisive act, preventing their spread to other worlds. However, this does not always mean the danger is entirely eliminated. In some cases, remnants of the original threat may persist in orbit as debris, posing risks to navigation or becoming the foundation for future anomalies. Moreover, the act of Exterminatus can provoke retaliation or escalation from external enemies who view it as a declaration of war or an unacceptable loss of potential resources. The obliteration of a planet also has significant implications for the morale of Imperial forces. For those who witness the event, whether from orbit or in reports, the sheer scale of destruction can be both inspiring and unsettling. On one hand, it demonstrates the might of the Imperium and its willingness to do whatever is necessary to survive. On the other hand, it serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of life, even within the Imperium's supposed protection. These mixed emotions can foster unity and resolve, but they can also leave individuals questioning the cost of such measures. In terms of warp stability, the destruction of a planet often generates unpredictable consequences. The release of massive energy, combined with the sudden annihilation of billions of lives, creates disturbances in the immaterium. These disturbances can manifest as temporary tears in reality, increased demonic activity, or shifts in warp currents. Navigators and psychers tasked with monitoring these fluctuations find their work more perilous in the aftermath, as the echoes of the planet's destruction ripple through both physical and metaphysical realms. For the Imperium's political machinery, Exterminatus is a double-edged sword. While it demonstrates the effectiveness of Imperial authority, it also raises questions about the leadership that allowed the situation to escalate to such an extreme. Planetary governors, military commanders, and even high-ranking officials within the Adeptus Terra may find their positions scrutinized as the aftermath of Exterminatus unfolds. Inquiries, though often suppressed or redirected, can result in purges, reassignment, or even execution for those deemed culpable in the failure to prevent the need for such drastic action. Beyond the Imperium, other factions observe these events with keen interest. For humanity's enemies, the destruction of a planet is both a warning and an opportunity. Some may see the act as proof of the Imperium's ruthlessness and resolve, while others interpret it as a sign of desperation. Rivals may exploit the weakened infrastructure and reduced morale in the region to launch their own incursions, while allies may find their trust in the Imperium tested by the sheer brutality of such actions. The obliteration of a world also raises deeper existential questions for those who ponder the galaxy's future. Scholars, philosophers, and even ordinary citizens may wonder about the long-term sustainability of such measures. How many planets can the Imperium afford to destroy before it begins to unravel the very foundation of its own empire? These questions, though rarely voiced publicly, linger in the minds of those who consider the broader implications of Exterminatus. Ultimately, the immediate consequences of Exterminatus are as vast as they are multifaceted. It is an act that reshapes not only the physical reality of the galaxy, but also the perceptions, strategies, and beliefs of those who inhabit it. While the targeted threat may be extinguished, the echoes of its destruction reverberate far and wide, leaving an indelible mark on the Imperium and the galaxy beyond. Among the myriad topics discussed within the Warhammer 40,000 community, few are as compelling and intricate as the unique technologies and tactics employed in Exterminatus. These tools of destruction, designed to annihilate a planet down to its core, represent the pinnacle of destructive engineering. Each method carries its own horrifying ingenuity, fueling endless debate among fans about their mechanics, efficacy, and the broader implications of their use. One of the most infamous and widely discussed technologies is the cyclonic torpedo. This weapon is designed to deliver annihilation on a geological scale, targeting the very structural integrity of a planet. Upon impact, it penetrates deep into the crust before detonating with unimaginable force. The resulting chain reaction destabilizes tectonic plates, triggering volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and a complete breakdown of the planetary mantle. Fans often debate the physics behind this weapon, speculating on whether such a tool could realistically achieve the destruction described in lore, or if it reflects a more fantastical interpretation of technological power. Virus bombs, another hallmark of Exterminatus, operate on a radically different principle. Rather than targeting the physical structure of a planet, they unleash a virulent pathogen that eradicates all organic life within hours. The virus is engineered to spread rapidly, consuming biomass and reducing it to a toxic sludge that renders the environment uninhabitable. What fascinates many is the precision required to contain such a devastating weapon. Discussions frequently revolve around the moral implications of deploying a weapon so specifically tailored to biological extermination, as well as the challenges of ensuring that its effects do not extend beyond the intended target. Fans are also drawn to the more exotic methods of Exterminatus described in the lore. One such method involves the use of vortex bombs, which create localized rifts into the warp. These devices unleash chaotic energies that devour entire sections of a planet, leaving nothing but voids where landmasses once stood. The unpredictability of this approach, given the inherent instability of warp-based technologies, raises questions about the risks involved for the forces deploying them. Discussions often explore the potential for unintended consequences, such as warp storms or demonic incursions, adding layers of intrigue to their deployment. Another notable tactic involves orbital bombardment, using mass-reactive munitions or lance strikes. These weapons, while lacking the cataclysmic flair of cyclonic torpedoes or virus bombs, are capable of systematically reducing a planet's surface to ash. The precision required to sustain such a bombardment, coupled with the sheer duration of the operation, highlights the relentless determination of the forces carrying out Exterminatus. Fans often analyze the logistical challenges of such campaigns, questioning how fleets manage the energy demands and material resources required for prolonged orbital strikes. A particularly debated topic is the role of the Adeptus Mechanicus in the creation and maintenance of Exterminatus-class weaponry. As guardians of ancient technologies, They hold the secrets to many of the tools used in planetary annihilation. However, their obsession with knowledge often leads to internal power struggles, raising the possibility of technological sabotage or mismanagement. Fans frequently speculate about the hidden dangers posed by these weapons, such as latent machine spirits or forbidden modifications that could backfire catastrophically. The environmental consequences of Exterminatus also draw significant attention. The aftermath of such destruction often leaves planets as barren wastelands or fields of debris. Some fans ponder the long-term effects on neighboring systems, such as gravitational shifts caused by the fragmentation of a planet or the contamination of nearby celestial bodies. Others delve into the lore's more philosophical implications, questioning whether the Imperium's reliance on such methods represents a pragmatic necessity or a fundamental flaw in its approach to survival. A lesser-known but equally fascinating aspect of Exterminatus is the use of unconventional methods tailored to specific circumstances. In rare cases, atmospheric destabilization through chemical agents or weather control devices is employed to create conditions that lead to planetary collapse. These methods, while not as dramatic as direct bombardment, demonstrate the Imperium's willingness to explore diverse approaches to achieve its goals. Such ingenuity sparks discussions about the potential for innovation in future lore, with fans speculating on other creative methods the Imperium might develop. Finally, one of the most enduring debates centers on the ethical dimensions of Exterminatus. While its purpose is to protect the greater Imperium, the sheer scale of destruction raises questions about whether such measures are truly justified. Some fans argue that Exterminatus reflects the desperation of a crumbling empire, while others view it as a necessary evil in a galaxy filled with existential threats. This tension between necessity and morality ensures that discussions about Exterminatus remain as engaging as they are contentious, cementing its place as one of the most complex and thought-provoking elements of Warhammer 40k lore. Throughout the grim history of Exterminatus, a number of notable individuals have risen to prominence due to their involvement in the execution, authorization, or opposition to such acts. These figures, each with their distinct qualities, motivations, strengths, and weaknesses, provide insight into the human and superhuman elements that shape these apocalyptic events. One category of individuals deeply intertwined with Exterminatus is the Inquisitors. These agents of the Emperor are perhaps the most frequent arbiters of planetary destruction. Among them, some stand out for their unwavering resolve and willingness to bear the immense moral weight of such decisions. Inquisitors, known for their decisive natures, often command great respect, but their rigid adherence to protocol can also make them appear unyielding or devoid of compassion. Their strength lies in their ability to act without hesitation, often seeing the bigger picture and sacrificing the few to save the many. However, this strength can also be their greatest weakness, as their detachment from the humanity they serve may alienate those under their command. Certain fleet admirals commanding the Imperial Navy's vast armadas have also made their mark in the annals of Exterminatus. These leaders are defined by their ability to coordinate the devastating orbital strikes and oversee the execution of annihilation protocols. Admirals with a strong sense of duty and strategic insight excel in ensuring that such operations are carried out efficiently and with minimal collateral consequences to surrounding systems. However, their reliance on logistical precision often makes them vulnerable to unforeseen variables, such as sabotage or the unpredictable consequences of their actions. Some admirals have gained notoriety for their willingness to question inquisitorial orders when they believe a planet's destruction may have broader negative repercussions, showcasing a rare balance of courage and pragmatism. Tech priests of the Adeptus Mechanicus also play a significant role, particularly those responsible for the design, maintenance, and deployment of Exterminatus-class weaponry. Among these individuals are those who have become legends within the Mechanicus for their mastery of ancient technologies. Their relentless pursuit of perfection in weapon design often leads to innovations that ensure more efficient and targeted destruction. However, This same obsession with technological achievement can blind them to the broader ethical implications of their work. Many tech priests are so consumed by their quest for knowledge that they overlook the human cost of their creations, leading to tensions between them and other Imperial authorities. On the battlefield, certain Imperial Guard commanders and planetary governors have become synonymous with the desperate circumstances that lead to Exterminatus. These individuals often embody the resilience and resourcefulness of humanity in the face of overwhelming odds. Commanders who have stood their ground on doomed planets, knowing that their efforts are merely delaying the inevitable, are celebrated as heroes by those who survive to tell their tales. Their ability to inspire their troops, even in the shadow of planetary annihilation, speaks to their leadership qualities, but their proximity to the horrors of Exterminatus often leaves them psychologically scarred. Many struggle to reconcile their loyalty to the Imperium with the devastating consequences of their orders. Within the broader narrative of Exterminatus, there are also rogue figures whose actions either led to or averted planetary annihilation. These include dissidents and rebels who, through cunning or sheer defiance, managed to delay an Exterminatus operation long enough to facilitate evacuations or expose flaws in the process. Such individuals are often vilified by the Imperium, their names erased from official records. However, among the populations they saved, these figures become symbols of hope and resistance. Their ingenuity and ability to challenge the status quo highlight the human capacity for survival, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. Finally, there are those who oppose Exterminatus on ideological or moral grounds, often within the ecclesiarchy or among the ranks of the faithful. These individuals, driven by their belief in the sanctity of life and the Emperor's mercy, argue against the destruction of entire worlds, even when such acts appear justified. Their strength lies in their conviction and their ability to rally others to their cause, sometimes influencing key decisions. However, their idealism can be a double-edged sword, as it often places them at odds with more pragmatic or ruthless authorities. These dissenters walk a fine line between heroism and martyrdom, their fates often determined by the political climate of the Imperium at the time. Each of these figures, whether celebrated or reviled, contributes to the intricate tapestry of Exterminatus. Their qualities and decisions shape the course of events, offering a human lens through which to view the cold, mechanical process of planetary annihilation. In their stories, one finds the tension between duty and morality, power and vulnerability, and the enduring struggle to reconcile survival with the cost of its pursuit. The topic of Exterminatus is steeped in mystery and speculation, and many aspects remain the subject of fervent debate among scholars, strategists, and enthusiasts. While the mechanisms and outcomes are well documented, numerous unresolved questions and theories surround the process, from the origins of the technology to its long-term consequences and ethical implications. One of the most debated topics is the true extent of the Imperium's arsenal capable of performing Exterminatus. While certain weapons like cyclonic torpedoes and virus bombs are explicitly described, hints in the lore suggest the existence of even more destructive methods that remain classified or forgotten. Fans often speculate about ancient technologies locked away by the Adeptus Mechanicus, such as terraforming devices repurposed for destruction or relics from the Dark Age of technology. These theories raise questions about how much destructive potential humanity truly possesses and whether it is even fully understood by those who wield it. The decision-making process behind Exterminatus also generates significant intrigue. While the general conditions for its authorization are known, the criteria often appear inconsistent across different cases. Some planets are destroyed for relatively minor threats, while others, plagued by significant dangers, are allowed to persist. This has led to speculation about hidden political or strategic agendas influencing these decisions. Some theorize that certain worlds are targeted not purely for their immediate threat, but as part of broader secretive plans to control sectors or eliminate rival factions within the Imperium. Another unresolved question is the fate of planets subjected to partial exterminatus. While most lore describes total planetary annihilation, there are instances where only specific regions or continents are targeted. This raises the question of whether such planets can recover and, if so, under what conditions. Theories abound about whether the Imperium ever attempts to reclaim these worlds, or if they are left as barren reminders of humanity's wrath. Some suggest that survivors on these planets may evolve into isolated, unique societies, cut off from Imperial oversight and shaped by their harsh environment. The impact of Exterminatus on the warp and immaterium is another source of debate. The destruction of billions of lives in a single act must surely create a significant disturbance in the psychic fabric of the galaxy. Some speculate that these events could attract the attention of chaos entities or even create new warp phenomena. There is little consensus on whether the Imperium has measures to mitigate such effects or if they are an unavoidable consequence of its methods. This uncertainty fuels discussions about whether Exterminatus could inadvertently weaken the Imperium's control over the immaterium. Questions also surround the Imperium's ability to reliably execute Exterminatus. While the process is often portrayed as flawless, the potential for failure is a recurring concern. For instance, what happens if a weapon malfunctions or is intercepted before reaching its target? Fans theorize that there may be rare cases where an Exterminatus operation goes wrong, leaving a planet partially intact and potentially even more dangerous than before. These scenarios, though seldom acknowledged in official lore, open the door to intriguing possibilities about the limits of Imperial power and the consequences of over-reliance on catastrophic solutions. The ethical and moral dimensions of Exterminatus remain an enduring topic of debate. While its purpose is to preserve humanity, the cost in lives and resources is staggering. Some argue that the Imperium's readiness to destroy entire worlds reflects a fundamental weakness, a failure to address problems before they reach such catastrophic proportions. Others suggest that Exterminatus is not just a tool of survival, but a psychological weapon intended to instill fear and compliance across the galaxy. This perspective raises questions about the true motivations behind its use and whether it serves purposes beyond the preservation of humanity. The role of artificial intelligence or machine spirits in Exterminatus operations is another source of speculation. Given the complexity and precision required to deploy planet-killing weapons, some theorize that advanced systems may play a larger role than is publicly acknowledged. This raises concerns about the potential for these systems to act autonomously or even rebel against their human operators. The idea that remnants of artificial intelligence from humanity's distant past might still influence such operations adds a layer of mystery to the process. Finally, one of the most contentious topics is whether Exterminatus is truly final. While the destruction of a planet is depicted as absolute, some question whether the Imperium has ever miscalculated or overlooked hidden elements that could survive even the most devastating attacks. These might include underground bunkers, alien technologies, or warp anomalies that shield portions of the planet from destruction. Such theories suggest that Exterminatus might not always achieve its intended goal, leaving open the possibility of long-term consequences or the eventual resurgence of the threats it sought to eliminate. These unresolved questions and theories ensure that the subject of Exterminatus remains one of the most intriguing and debated aspects of the Warhammer 40K universe. Its mysteries deepen the complexity of the lore, inviting endless speculation about the methods, motivations, and consequences of humanity's ultimate weapon. The long-term consequences of Exterminatus stretch far beyond the immediate destruction of a planet, reshaping the dynamics of the galaxy in ways that are often unpredictable. While its primary goal is to neutralize a specific threat, the repercussions reverberate for centuries, influencing everything from interstellar politics to societal norms. The destruction of a single planet leaves an indelible mark not only on the Imperium, but also on the broader balance of power in the galaxy. One of the most profound consequences is the permanent loss of resources and knowledge. Every planet in the Imperium serves a purpose, whether as a hub of industry, agriculture, or cultural heritage. The destruction of such a world disrupts the intricate web of interplanetary trade and supply lines. Over time, the cumulative effect of these losses weakens the Imperium's ability to sustain its vast war machine. Forge worlds may find themselves without vital raw materials. Hive cities might suffer from food shortages, and even the Adeptus Mechanicus could lose access to ancient relics and data stored on obliterated planets. These cascading effects compound over generations, straining the Imperium's already fragile infrastructure. In some cases, Exterminatus alters the geopolitical landscape of entire sectors. The removal of a strategically significant world creates a power vacuum that neighboring planets and factions often scramble to fill. Rival factions, both human and alien, might exploit the weakened presence of the Imperium in the region, launching incursions or establishing footholds in previously secure areas. This shifting balance of power can destabilize entire sectors, forcing the Imperium to divert resources and attention to address the fallout. The psychological and cultural impact of Exterminatus also carries long-term consequences. Entire populations across the Imperium live under the shadow of its possibility, fostering a pervasive sense of fear and compliance. While this may strengthen the grip of Imperial authority in the short term, it can also erode the morale and loyalty of its citizens over time. Those who survive the destruction of nearby planets may view the Imperium not as their protector, but as a force of indiscriminate destruction. Such resentment can fester into rebellion or drive entire populations to seek alliances with external powers, further complicating the Imperium's efforts to maintain control. On a societal level, Exterminatus contributes to a culture of desensitization and fatalism. The sheer scale of destruction becomes normalized within the Imperium, where the loss of billions is viewed as an acceptable cost for survival. Over generations, this perspective erodes the value placed on individual lives and communities, reinforcing the Imperium's dehumanizing bureaucratic structure. While this mindset ensures unwavering loyalty to the greater cause, it also diminishes the potential for innovation and progress as individuals prioritize survival over creativity or reform. Exterminatus also leaves a lasting legacy on the physical and metaphysical fabric of the galaxy. Planets reduced to barren wastelands or asteroid fields create hazards for navigation and colonization. The remnants of destroyed worlds may drift through space for millennia, posing risks to nearby systems. Additionally, the psychic shockwaves caused by the annihilation of billions of lives can have enduring effects on the warp. These disturbances may give rise to new warp anomalies, exacerbate existing instability, or attract the attention of malevolent entities. Such phenomena add layers of complexity to the Imperium's already fraught relationship with the Immaterium. In rare cases, the memory of Exterminatus becomes a rallying cry for those seeking to resist the Imperium. Survivors who manage to escape destroyed worlds often carry with them stories of betrayal, injustice, or negligence. Over time, these narratives can evolve into legends, fueling movements that challenge Imperial authority. These rebellions, while often crushed, can persist as symbols of defiance, inspiring future generations to question the Imperium's methods and priorities. Conversely, the destruction wrought by Exterminatus can sometimes serve as a catalyst for renewal. The void left by annihilated worlds forces neighboring systems to adapt, innovate, and strengthen their defenses. In some cases, planets spared destruction may double their efforts to prove their loyalty and utility to the Imperium, fostering advancements in technology or governance. However, such renewal comes at an incalculable cost, and the gains often pale in comparison to the losses incurred. From a broader perspective, Exterminatus reflects a grim paradox at the heart of the Imperium. The very measures taken to ensure humanity's survival may ultimately contribute to its decline. As the Imperium continues to rely on such extreme methods, it risks depleting the resources, trust, and unity necessary to sustain its vast empire. This self-destructive cycle raises questions about the long-term viability of the Imperium's strategies and whether it can endure under the weight of its own policies. In the end, the legacy of Exterminatus is one of both destruction and transformation. While it achieves its immediate goals, the ripples of its impact extend far into the future, shaping the destiny of the galaxy in profound and often unforeseen ways. Whether the Imperium can adapt to these consequences or succumbs to the cumulative weight of its actions remains an open question, one that will define the fate of humanity in the millennia to come.